Gemara Brochos on Daf Lamed Aleph, page 31b. And we just learned the story of Chana and how she really wants to have a child. And she comes up with a way of manipulating the system. And the Torah gives a bracha for a child, even for someone who's infertile. And that is if the person drinks this soita water and she really is innocent, she will be blessed with a child. So the Gemara sees that that's what Chana was saying when she said this double language of Ra'oi Tira. Speaking to Hashem in her prayer, she said a redundant, she was redundant in her words, and therefore the Gemara learns something out from it and says, well, it must mean that she was telling Hashem in Ra'ah, if you see my request, good, if you listen to it, good, and if not, then I will do this way of getting a child through getting my husband to warn me, and then transgressing on that warning, and there'll be witnesses that will see it, and ultimately I will have to go to Jerusalem, go to the Mishkan and drink the Saita water, and then I'll have a child. So we asked yesterday a number of questions regarding, especially regarding what she was thinking of doing. It's considered a terrible sin to have yichud, to have to be in a secluded area with a man. A woman is, especially a married woman, is prohibited to be, even a single woman is prohibited rabbinically, but a married woman is prohibited to be in a secluded area with a man, with another man that's not her husband. So that's called yichud, and that would be definitely prohibition. How is she willing to do this? So we answered a few answers. One answer was that she didn't really mean that she's actually going to do this. She meant that she wants to have the blessing that she would have if she went forward and did that. But of course, she's going to be she's going to be careful not to sin and do anything wrong. But she says, I shouldn't lose out. Hashem, you should give me the same blessing that you would have given me had I done that, and I would be blessed with a child. So now that I'm gonna follow the Torah and be tznius, be modest and pure, I'm gonna lose out. So that's one way of understanding it. Another way of understanding it is that it's not really a sin of what she was going to do, because she was not going to seclude herself with one man. She was going to seclude herself with more than one man, and therefore her husband, according to the laws of Saita, she would be eligible to drink the Saita water, but at the same time she would not have sinned with regard to yichud, the yichud laws. In other words, in addition to the sins of relationship sins, there's also a sin of actually just secluding oneself with the individual of the other sex. That itself is a sin called yichud. So the way we're explaining it is that sin does not apply in all scenarios. For example, in a case of if there's more than one man, that would not apply, and she could have been eligible for the site to drink the Saita water, but at the same time not transgress the law of yichud. The third answer that we spoke about yesterday was a very interesting answer, because it actually brings up a very current type of scenario. You're gonna have to see this. There's no greener to look. So it brings up a very current scenario of nowadays. It really adapts halacha into the nowadays situation, where there are many many offices that have video cameras. And because of that, wait forever. And because there are video cameras, does that give any leniency to the laws of Yehud? Because is that considered like someone else is watching? So it's more being. And this answer says, according to this answer, the way we answer the question is that there's a difference between the yichud the yichud of a regular woman versus the yichud of a woman who has been warned and is eligible to drink the saita water. So again, there's a difference. A woman who is just sinning with yichud, with secluding oneself, that woman is transgressing a sin of yichud. However, with regard to the laws of saita, if a woman has been warned, so she is a woman who's eligible to have the water start inching your way. She is a woman who's eligible for to drink the saita water, which will reveal if she actually sinned in this secluded. She will reveal. She will. Everyone else's turn. She will reveal that. She will reveal that the saita water. The saita water will reveal that she has not sinned, and therefore, a woman who is in this scenario is not going to be transgressing the laws of yichud, and that's why Chana, what she did was not a sin. Yes, Ben.
I think what she's saying really is to Hashem, give me a child, please, because I don't want to do something that my husband tells me not to do.
Yeah, that is the first answer that I gave.
Yeah, that's the first idea that you said.
Yeah, that's
that, I don't want to do it.
Right.
So don't, if you give me a child, everything will be fine.
That's one answer, but I must say that that's not exact. That doesn't fit perfectly with the wording of the Gemara. It's sort of it's called a doichik. It's a little pushed into the explanation because it's the Gemara implies that she actually was planning on doing.
It's what we think. It's what we think it means.
So it's a good answer, but it's not. But again, there's room for other answers in this in this Gemara, and the other answer.
All of them are guesses because none of them are written. So it's whatever we think. It's not a written thing.
Well, this is the thing. I don't like to use the word guesses because these are commentaries. Some of them are very great scholars, but you're right. They're not written in the Gemara, but they're written by the scholars. And so they're all correct. It's not that, in other words, what they're saying is not wrong. It's
they are all
definitely correct. No matter, and each answer is valid. However, the answer that I just mentioned, the final answer, there is a debate about, and it's argued about. Is that considered yichud or not? If there is going to be a drinking of the saita water, does that mean that the person never sinned? Because
she never sinned, but she still was in yichud with a man.
That's the question. Maybe not, because there's someone else who's watching, and that's called the saita water. The saita water is actually seeing. You're going to take the baby in, okay? The saita water is seeing that.
But that's in the future.
Like someone else is
after the fact.
It doesn't matter after or before. Someone else is seeing it. There is a vision of someone else, according to one opinion. Again, some people argue with this. This is an individual view, and not necessarily is this the accepted not necessarily does everyone agree with it, but and it's discussed in, especially nowadays in halacha, this would be a deciding factor if a person goes into an office and there is a video camera. Is that considered yichud or not? So
only if you lock the door.
So
there is no reason to lock the door. So if somebody locks the door, there is a problem.
Yeah, sorry about that. If someone locks the door, again, the point is that according to this view, it's not a problem. It's
but
not
they
a
don't
problem
need to lock the door.
Even if you lock the door, because there's a video camera. The video camera is like someone else is watching.
What's the purpose for locking the door?
Why did they lock the door?
Yeah.
Some places you always lock the door. If you're in a dangerous area, you always lock your door. That's the norm.
And there's a
video camera. So what could you do? What could you do when there's a video camera? Yes, Ezra.
The question I have is, you said that if she secludes herself with two people, she can still drink the sota water. I can understand the reason why two people, because if there's another individual there, then both of them would be reluctant to do anything out of the ordinary, because the other guy can always can always say something about them. But why would she be allowed to drink the sota water? I thought the sota water was only in a situation where she secludes herself with an individual, because that's what the Torah mentions. In that particular situation, her husband warned her, she goes and she does it, then she's brought in front, he then takes her to the Kohen and explains whatever.
Good question. The Rambam brings this halacha, and people are surprised about it, that could you have a stira with more than one individual? And that is the halacha, that he could warn her. If he warns her with more than one individual, then that's called, if she transgresses on that warning, then that is considered that she deserves to drink the sota water. Again, she was warned for secluding herself with more than one individual. Don't seclude yourself with Yankel and Shmerel. And she secluded herself with Yankel and Shmerel.
I don't remember, but I thought that two men were not sufficient to mitigate the question of yichud.
Here, look on page Gimel Amud Beis in Brochos.
That even though there's two, it's not quite yichud, but it is yichud, so she's allowed to drink the sota water. If it was three men, there wouldn't be an issue of yichud, for sure.
Right.
The two men, there is a shaila if it's yichud or not.
Look at Gimel Amud Beis on the top. Gimel Amud Beis in Brochos on the top. It depends if the two men are righteous or the two men are pritzim. Gimel Amud Beis in Brochos. What you're saying is a good point. It's there's a different two men. It depends, but it's not a question. It just depends on who the men are. Okay. Yes, Susan.
I find this very shocking that she's asking God for a miracle, and then all this commentary, it's almost like, I don't know if I believe two men, one man, her husband does this. It sounds to me like somebody's making up all of this stuff to satisfy her asking God for a miracle. Why can't we just leave it at that? She's asking him for a miracle, period. Why is she?
Right.
It sounds like a bunch.
Yeah. Susan, the laws that we're discussing are laws that have, books written about them. So the laws are all.
So what is
they're-
this law about? Explain. That's what I'm
So
completely
there are numerous laws. We're just connecting this story.
confused.
We're just connecting this story with some of those laws. But those laws are laws that are laws that have been in place. It's not like we're coming up with these new laws. These laws have been in place. So I
So that's
understand
what I
you're
don't
seeing this story and you're thinking that we're just coming up with all these laws. No, these laws have always been in place. There's laws of yichud. A man being secluded with a woman in a room is called yichud. Now, in addition to all the laws of who a person is allowed to marry, who a person's not allowed to marry, there's also laws of not being secluded with a married woman. And a man to be secluded with a married woman in a room is prohibited.
Okay.
And
Is
there are
any-
leniencies.
I need to ask you, does a man, if a man goes into a room where a woman is doing work,
Right. That's prohibited if they lock the door.
Who gets their hand slapped? She doesn't instigate. She doesn't ask. And here this guy walks
Right.
in.
Okay, yeah, good question. So the answer is that they are both guilty if they don't do something right away to unlock the door. In other words, let's say the door closes and it gets locked by mistake. So both of them should be doing something they realize, oh, we're in a room that's secluded. We should either unlock the door, open the door, depending on different opinions.
The camera
or
that's there.
If there's a camera, that is room, again, that's room for leniency. There's different opinions about the camera. So the camera is a room for leniency, according to one opinion, possibly accepted, possibly not accepted. In other words, it's not necessarily a permit, a full-fledged permit could be in.
What about an elevator? What about an elevator?
Is not, they asked this question. You're asking a question that's discussed. Elevator, because at any point someone can come in and someone, therefore it's considered like others will see you. It's not secluded. The seclusion is not. However, if there was an elevator that could take you all the way up to space, when they build such an elevator, that could be a problem.
Yeah.
In the meantime, it's not.
Okay.
I don't know if they have an elevator, however long, if it's a very long elevator that takes you up to the top of the Empire State Building and and it's going slow.
So this is, the story is explaining a biblical law. That's what
so this is explaining biblical and rabbinic laws. There's many rabbinic laws regarding the laws of yichud.
I want to, that went way over my head. I'm sorry. It went way over my head. I did not understand.
All you need to know, you don't have to understand much, just know that a married woman or a single woman should not be in the same room as someone who they are not allowed to be married to.
Right.
Okay.
Rabbi, I just want to say one thing about the elevator. There are elevators that go only to the top floor.
Top floor.
Nobody
but how
else
long?
Can go up. Without a key, you can't get up there.
So it could be in those elevators, it becomes problematic, and if it's not possible for someone, if someone might not come in, it depends how long it takes. Maybe
nobody can come in. It goes straight to the top floor, and the only one that can go up there is with a key.
Right, but how long does it take to get there, and when does the elevator start
coming
minutes,
down? A minute, I don't know.
Right, so it could be it's not a problem. And how long does it take for the elevator to get back down if someone else calls it,
No, it comes right back down, but I'm saying the man and the woman are already in a private place, which nobody else can come up.
Right.
Oh.
I guess we would have to look at the time limit, the time. I know one of the times given for yichud is 8 minutes. But I don't know if that's...
Once they're up, they can be as long as they want. Nobody else can come up.
Oh, so in that case, it sounds like it would be, it would definitely be a
prohibited.
Problem. Unless there's a camera in the elevator, which might be room for leniency. But that sounds like a big problem. Why is she going up there anyway? Why is he going up?
That's what
Why
I'm saying. It's a private
that could be, that definitely sounds like a problem. Yeah. Okay. In any event, let's continue because time is precious and we don't have much.
So let's continue. So this is the, I should mention one more thing, and that is that in addition to what Hannah was saying, that she's going to seclude herself with a man, but she's also saying, what she's saying is she's going to drink the Saita water and Hashem's name is going to be erased for her to drink. So she's going to cause Hashem's name to be erased, which also seems like something that maybe she shouldn't be doing. However, I once heard an explanation that the whole purpose of Hashem allowing his name to be erased is to make peace. To make peace. She was married to Elkanah. Hannah is married to Elkanah. Elkanah has another wife at the time, Penina. Penina has 10 children, and Hannah has none. And Penina used to fight with Hannah. So Hannah felt that because if she has a child, this will bring peace between her and Penina. This was her excuse why she felt it wasn't wrong to cause Hashem's name to be erased, because ultimately it will bring peace between her and Penina. Penina used to tease her all the time, but she felt that if she has a child, it will stop that whole fighting between her and Penina, the other wife, her competition wife. And therefore, she felt that would be a good excuse of why it would be, wouldn't be wrong. And we studied that in the beginning, right? And no, in the beginning of Shmuel.
Shmuel.
So the Gemara that we're up to says, how is Rabbi Akiva going to answer this, explain this? Because Rabbi Akiva doesn't hold that if a person drinks the Saita water and she's infertile, Rabbi Akiva says she's not going to have a child. So how would he learn this story? Why does Hannah say a double language of Roi Tira? So the Gemara answers that Dibra Torah Koloshan B'nei Adam, that the Torah speaks in the way that people speak, and therefore it just uses a double language because that's the common way of saying things, but it's not hinting us that she had this conversation with Hashem. So which brings us back to David's question yesterday of what does it mean, Vinizra Azera, that it seems to say pretty clearly that she will have children. And I didn't find anything written on it, but it seems, I didn't see anyone asking this question, but how does Rabbi Akiva learn the words V'nizra Zera? So it seems that the pasuk needs explanation, because what does that mean? She's going to drink the Saita water and she's going to get pregnant. Now, there's many ways of understanding this. One way is she's automatically going to get pregnant, like a virgin birth, which is, of course, baloney. But there is such a way. I mean, she's going to drink the water, she'll be pure, and she'll get pregnant. So is that what it means, that she's going to get pregnant, miraculously pregnant with no man? Or V'nizra Zera? It's a little vague. What does that mean? And why is she going to get pregnant? How is she going to get pregnant if she drinks Saita water? What does this mean? And she has children already. So what is it saying? What is this blessing of V'nizra Zera? So the blessing of V'nizra Zera needs explanation, because the verse is unclear. So it needs explanation. So one explanation is if she has children that are ugly, they'll be beautiful. If she has, she only has girls, she'll have boys. If she'll have a blessing within the concept of children. But not necessarily does it go that far to say that she's going to, if she's infertile, that she's going to have a child. In other words, that's a extra leap of miracles. So the point of the verse is that she will have a blessing regarding children, V'nizra Zera, but it doesn't say clearly what that blessing will be, and that is what they're discussing what extent. So simple level, what it means is that if she has children that aren't as good as they could be, she will have better children, better looking, better, taller, more handsome, more better complexion, better each thing, whatever, however you want to learn it. And Rabbi Yishmael takes it a step further. He says it even means if someone's infertile, that they'll actually give birth. But basically, the point is that the verse itself needs explanation, and that is what they're arguing about. Yes, Ezra. I don't hear you. You're muted.
Okay. Why can't that be considered double lashon as well, to mean she will surely conceive? And why does everybody have to go through this entire, this?
It could mean that. It could mean that. That is a dibra Torah koloshin b'nei adam, and maybe that's and that could be the explanation. The only question is, what does it mean? What does that mean? In other words, I'm not speaking about the redundancy of the Nizra Zera, although yesterday I mentioned that it could be a room for discussion, but today I'm explaining that I don't know if that's the reason, especially because we're trying to explain Rabbi Akiva, who himself believes in dibra Torah koloshin b'nei adam. So therefore, I'm not satisfied with the way I answered it yesterday, because Rabbi Akiva holds that you could have a double language and it doesn't mean you have to learn something from it. But I think that the reason why they're discussing the words V'nizra Zera is because it is a little vague. Like, what does it mean that she'll have children? I mean, what type of blessing is that? You'll have a child. It's if someone has children and they're healthy and they could have more children, of course they'll have it. It's not exactly the blessing of drinking the Saita water that they're going to have a child. If they,
why can't you say something to the effect that, yes, God will make a child happen, and it won't be, for example, she could also become pregnant and have miscarriage. Here in this particular situation, it could be not only will she become pregnant, but she'll carry it to full term and have an actual child.
So I think the reason why the argument between these Tanoim, they're discussing this, I believe it has to do with the fact that maybe that's not a blessing that's so general, and this should be a blessing for anyone who's a Saita. In other words, for some people that would be a great blessing. For other people who never had a miscarriage, or to them it's like normal. Yeah, we'll have a child, whatever. They'll decide. Like, especially for people who are family planning. Like, for them, it's like, I don't know, they don't even want a child, and they're like, we know we could have a child, But I guess it's more general. They're seeing it as a blessing for the general public. Is they'll have a blessing regarding children, the Nizra Zera. So they had pain in childbirth, they'll have less pain. They had white children, they had dark children, they'll have white children. They had girls, they'll have boys. In other words, it's more general. And one of the rabbis explains that it means a blessing that they'll even have. Even someone who's infertile will have children, and along the lines of what you're saying, that someone who had miscarriages will have will be blessed with a healthy child and a full-term birth. I'm just throwing a thought. Again, I'm not sure. It's a good question. David asked it yesterday, how they specifically learn the verse. I'm just trying to give an explanation. Maybe maybe it's good, maybe it's not. If you don't like it, it's also fine. I'm not 100% sure that that's the correct answer. I'm throwing a thought that maybe this is a good answer. The Gemara that we're about to learn is going to explain. Oh boy, it's 11:03. Let me just read this. Do we have 2 or 3 minutes? Is that okay?
Sure.
Ba'ani amasecha al tishka. The verse says, "Ba'ani amasecha al tishka, es amasecha v'nasata la'amasecha." It says 3 times the word amasecha, your maidservant. And why does it say it 3 times? Why does she keep saying your maidservant this, your maidservant that? Why doesn't she just say, I'm gonna, I'll do this? She keeps saying your maidservant. So the Gemara says that why does it say 3 times maidservant? Chana said before Hashem, Master of the universe, Shloisha Bidke Misa Barasa Ba'isha. That Chana was saying to Hashem that you created 3 ways of testing a woman if she deserves death. And what that means is that a woman is judged for 3 things when she is in the midst of childbirth. And those 3 things, have I ever transgressed? Did I ever do anything wrong regarding those 3 things? And we'll soon see what they are. In the meantime, the Gemara says another version. Va'amri la shleisha divke misa. There are 3 things that are attached to death, 3 sins that are attached to death. A little different version, a very slight difference between these 2 versions. And it's so slight, that's why it says both, because it's either bidke misa or divke misa. The word is the same letters. It's just a question of how it was pronounced. And the meaning, the difference in meaning is, does the sin of these 3 areas, sinning in these 3 areas, does that cause a woman to die during childbirth, or does it cause a woman in general to die because she has these 3 sins? In other words, is it specifically mentioning childbirth? So if it says it's 3 ways of testing a woman, it means she's tested during childbirth. If it just says 3 things that are attached, shloisha divke misa, 3 deaths are attached to women, meaning 3 things are attached to death of a woman. It just means in general, if she sins in these 3 areas, it could cause her to pass away. And what are they? Nida, v'chala, v'hadlakas haner. These 3 mitzvahs that are special for women. In fact, the acronym of these 3 mitzvahs is the word chana. Chala, nida, and hadlakas haner. So actually, these 3 are very connected to chana. So she was telling Hashem, have I sinned in any of these areas? Klum, avarti, alachas, man, did I ever sin in any of these 3 things? Nida means she goes to mikvah and keeps the laws of nida, the laws of family purity. Chala means she separates chala when she bakes bread. She separates chala, and hadlakas haner means she lights Shabbos candles and Yom Tov candles. So she said, have I ever transgressed any of these things that would cause death? In her scenario, she's saying that I don't have a child. Okay, that is the conclusion of this little piece of Gemara. I want to wish you all a very good Shabbos. Sei gesund, everyone.
Have a great Shabbos. Thank you.
Have a great Shabbos. Good Shabbos for everybody.
Thank you, Rabbi. Good Shabbos.
Thank you.
Shalom,
Bye,
everyone.
Bye, everyone. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.